Did you know that you can use Git directly in VS Code without having to use the terminal? VS Code comes with an integrated Git tool that you can link to your GitHub account, and it's a nice way to quickly and easily run Git commands. To go through this tutorial, you will need VS Code and Git installed on your computer, as well as a GitHub account setup. If you need help with that, I do have other tutorials that'll walk you through, linked down below. The easiest way that I've found to work with GitHub repos locally is to create them on github.com first. So in GitHub, in my dashboard, I'll click the plus sign icon and create a new repository. Then let's give it a name. I'll say Git VS Code. And I'm going to use the default settings, so it's public, and I don't want to create a README, git ignore, or license file. We want it to be a completely empty repo. Then let's click Create Repository. And now we have our empty repository. So let's go back to VS Code. And in the left activity bar, I'm going to click on the source control tool. And I want to click Clone Repository. And I'll click Clone from GitHub. So now we are prompted to sign in using GitHub. So I will click Allow. Then in the browser, we are prompted to authorize Visual Studio Code with our GitHub account. So I will click Continue, and then I'll click Authorize. Then we get redirected back to VS Code, and we now have a pop-up menu that lists all of our GitHub repositories. I'll select the Git VS Code one. Now we need to select the folder location where we want to create a folder to be the Git working directory. So whatever location you select is going to then create a new subfolder. So I'm going to select Documents GitHub, which is where I keep all my repos, and then click the Select as Repository Destination button. Then I'm going to choose Open the repository in VS Code. And here we are. And if you see a warning saying you're in restricted mode, that would be because this is the first time you've opened that folder in VS Code. So to get out of restricted mode, because you trust the folder because you created it, you can click Manage and then Trust. So next, let's start creating some files in our repository. So in the Explorer tool in the left sidebar, I'm going to click the new file icon, and let's create a new file called readme.md. This is a markdown file, which is simplified HTML. In here, I'm going to make an h1 tag and write the title Git in VS Code. Let's also add some text under it. All right, let's make some code changes. There we go. And now in the sidebar, you might notice that the README file has a U on the right, and the U is also here in the File tab. U means untracked, and this tells us that the file is not yet being tracked in Git. So in the left activity bar, let's go to that source control tool again, and there's a 1 highlighted. This tells us that we have one change that is not committed yet. So let's make this a bit bigger. In the tool, we have some panels in the left sidebar. The repositories panel has the current repo and the branch. And there's also an icon here where you can sync with GitHub. And then the 3 dots menu has some additional options here. Below that is the Changes panel, and this is where we can stage and commit our code changes. So let's make a commit with our changes that we just made. So for each file with changes detected, it's going to be listed here, and we can open the file, we can discard unstaged changes, then we can stage changes, and I'm going to stage our changes. And now the U has changed to an A, meaning we are adding the new file to the Git repository. Then to make a commit, we can write a message up here in this text box describing our change. I'm going to say add readme file, and then I'm going to click the commit button. So we've made our commit, which we can see here in the graph panel, which shows you the Git history. And since this is the first commit, we have not published our main branch. So I'm going to click the Publish Branch button. And at this point, you might be prompted to sign in with GitHub again. So if you are, click the Sign in with Browser button, and then authorize Git Credential Manager, and then go back to VS Code. So now our main branch is public. So if we go back to GitHub and reload our repository page, we can see the commit we just made, add readme file, and the readme file itself. So again, this is a pretty basic Git workflow. You can access all the Git commands that you might need with the 3 dots menu. As you can see, you can pull, push, clone, fetch, even things like branch, remote, stashing, and tagging. And I like the option of having the integrated Git tool in VS Code because while it is fun to write Git commands using bash, sometimes it just feels faster to click on things in the sidebar. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you want to learn more Git and GitHub, I do have a playlist of videos, including a full Git and GitHub tutorial that you can check out. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.